Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jenna if you're new here. So I thought that it would be fun to do a video about the first 5 days of Henri's life. And Henri is my now 4-week-old little newborn. He is too precious. We love him so much. He is napping right now in the other room. We are working on a little feed and nap schedule to retain a little bit of my sanity. So I wanted to talk about just the first 5 days postpartum and the first 5 days of Henri's life. So day 1 was the day that he was born. So that was October 17th, and he was born at 5:02 a.m. So if you saw my home birth video where I go into his full birth story, you kind of saw the first little portion of that where we had him weighed, his newborn exam was done at home. We were able to shower, and then we took a nap, and everyone left our house around 7 a.m. I definitely feel like for first-time parents, you are thrown into it. You have to figure it all out. The whole breastfeeding journey is an interesting one to figure out for the first time. And there's just a lot that's thrown at you. Thankfully, he was able to sleep, and he just started sleeping right away. So we have a little bassinet in our bedroom for him. He sleeps beside our bed. For the time being, for the first week postpartum, my husband and I actually switched places on our bed because I ended up delivering on our bed, which you can get more details on why I ended up there. In my home birth story, I go into more details about why I ended up giving birth on the bed, which was not my first choice position. My midwife asked me if I wanted to shower. I was actually like, no, not really. I do want to be clean, but I also just had 5 stitches, and I don't want water running over all of the fresh stitch wound. So I went ahead and I did take a shower. Thankfully, we had gotten one of the shower hoses where it descends off and you can take it off of the main hose or whatever those are called. So I am really, really grateful that we did that. That was definitely an essential. After I took that shower, we just kind of tucked in. We ended up sleeping for about 4 hours. And the whole first kind of day was mainly focused on trying to establish breastfeeding. Leading up to having him, I was having some leakage situation going on. I talked about that in my second trimester recap video. I knew that there was a means to feed my baby. I just definitely didn't know how to establish a latch necessarily. We attempted to do so while the midwife was there. So she actually gave me the name and number of a lactation consultant that she highly, highly recommended that I call. I didn't end up calling her, mostly because it was just an overwhelming experience to me to try to get someone to come help, to give advice, to come into her home, to pay them for it. It was just a lot, and I kind of fully launched into attempting to breastfeed, which we were getting the hang of. So I just figured, okay, if I'm really struggling with this, I'll call a lactation consultant, but for now, let's just go ahead and attempt to do this ourselves. So I primarily just focused on trying to get a latch established on the left because that was the boob that was more leaky anyways. And so I remember being a bit stressed because the first few times we tried, we would try for as long as even an hour trying to establish a latch, and he was definitely hungry. He was rooting around for food. I felt so bad to not be able to really deliver it, but also I felt better when I learned that a newborn's stomach is about the size of a marble, so it doesn't take much to fill them. So for the first few attempts, I just ended up kind of dripping colostrum in his mouth, and he just kind of smacked it. He just kind of tasted it. And that I feel like, well, at least he's getting something. It's close to him. He's getting used to it. I watched a lot of videos on breastfeeding, and we did end up getting a somewhat strong latch on that first day. Day number 2, it was more of an established latch, and I definitely knew that he was getting something because I started to hear him swallow on day 2. So That made me feel a lot better on day 2 when he started doing that. That was October 18th. And that first night, he was definitely completely flipped around. He slept a lot during the day and he was awake pretty much all night. And that was exhausting for my husband and I. My husband definitely stepped in and helped because I was not very mobile, so I couldn't really rock him, move around with him. There was a lot of pain still happening for me. I had a lot of after pains, and I was told that for a first pregnancy that isn't as common, but I was actually experiencing a lot of cramping. Also on Tuesday, he ended up meeting his cousin Aria, his grandpa, so my dad, and he also met his uncle Daniel. So they all came over, my brother and my dad and my niece Aria all came over to the house. Both of my sisters met him on his birthday. They came over shortly after, and the rest of my family came over the next day. So that is when he met all of those little family members. So that was really sweet. They were here for about an hour or two. And in terms of visitors postpartum, I'm sure I'll do a slightly different system with future babies, but I wasn't sure what would really work for us when it came to people wanting to come over and meet him. So I just decided, and my husband and I just decided, that whenever someone asked to come over, we would say yes, and then we would kind of determine based on how it was all going, how the timing was, how we felt, what we would do in the future. So with all of that said, we had those family members over on the second day, and it actually was very, very helpful for me to have, especially my mom, come over in that first week, because she would watch Henri and hold Henri while we were able to nap. And those naps we desperately needed because we weren't hardly sleeping at all at night. We were awake almost the full night, getting maybe an hour, 2-hour sleep stretches at a time, and we were just so exhausted. So having my mom over that full first week was so necessary because she gave us those nap breaks. So we are so, so grateful for her. And that full first week as well, my family helped drop off meals, so we didn't have to worry about groceries. We didn't ever order food. We didn't have to prepare any kind of food because every single night that week, my family either brought us takeout or they brought us a home cooked meal. So thanks so much to my family for doing that for us, and for my husband's family as well. When they visited over the weekend, they were very helpful by cooking us a delicious home cooked meal as well. So that was very, very, very helpful. That whole meal train situation should not be underestimated, because just having food taken off our plates was exactly what we needed. So on Wednesday, that was when he met my grandma. So that was his great grandma. And so she came over in the afternoon. My mom was over the majority of that day as well, helping us, giving us breaks, allowing us to nap, which was really good. His breastfeeding seemed more established. He definitely seemed as though he was nursing well and kind of consistently, and he was nursing on both breasts as well, and not just the left. The left was pretty much day 1 and 2, we were just focusing on the left, and then day 3 we kind of integrated the right a little bit in there as he got his latch established a little bit more. We definitely attempted on both sides, but he was successful on the left first, and then he was successful on the right around day 3 or 4, I believe. Now Thursday, October 20th, we actually had a very scary night and experience. So in the middle of the night, I started getting very sharp stabbing, shooting pain in my right side. It was very painful and very sudden, and I wasn't able to hold baby. I was actually doubled over in pain for a few hours, and it was very scary because both my husband and I, based on its location, based on the strange symptoms, were thinking it might be appendicitis. And the absolute last thing I wanted to do was try to rush to the emergency room in my state, because like I said, I wasn't very mobile. My stitches were still recovering, so every time going to the bathroom was a painful experience. I couldn't walk around much without feeling too faint because I was bleeding a lot, and So the last thing I wanted to do was go to the emergency room and potentially have appendicitis. So I was really, really afraid that that's what that was. My husband was trying to calm Henri down. There was actually, I think, about an hour or two where Henri was just straight crying and I couldn't do anything. I was just doubled over in pain and trying to figure out if it was appendicitis, what was happening. We took my temperature and I didn't have a fever. So we thought that was a good sign because most of the time appendicitis is accompanied with a fever, but it was very, very sharp pain and nothing seemed to relieve it. Eventually, I had the idea to use a belly band that my sister had given me for postpartum. For like C-section recovery, you would use that. A lot of women who have vaginal births, I don't think necessarily use a belly band, but my sister had one for her home birth, and so she gave me hers. And after wearing that, the pain eventually slowed enough for me to go to sleep. Once I woke up, it was still dully there, but it wasn't as sharp. So thank goodness that was actually truly a lifesaver, was that specific belly band. The next day, it definitely had subsided, but I had to wear the belly band or else I would feel that sharp pain again. And so the fact that it had subsided made me think it must be my uterus just kind of contracting. And he was a right side lying baby. He loved my right side. I had a ton of right side round ligament pain during my pregnancy. So I actually assumed that it was my uterus, and it was after pains from my uterus shrinking back to size. And because he was on my right so much, because I had so much right side round ligament pain, that's why it was just kind of centered over on my right. That's my working theory about why that pain was so bad, but that was a very, very scary moment. And then Friday, October 21st, that was actually me and my husband Paul's wedding anniversary. It was our 4th wedding anniversary, and I was just hoping that no matter when baby came in October, that he wouldn't come on the day of our anniversary. So thankfully he is 4 days before. So even though they'll always be in the same week, we can at least celebrate his birthday for the rest of his life on the weekend before, and then do maybe an anniversary trip on the weekend after during that week. So I am grateful that they are spaced apart just a little bit because he was due on the 19th. So very, very likely that he could have come on the 21st. My mom came over to give us a little break during the evening time, and we treated ourselves by getting sushi in. And so we just ordered a la carte sushi. We said, oh well, to the price tag, and we just treated ourselves with that while we were watching. And we got into the show The Rings of Power at this stage as well. So we were watching a few episodes of The Rings of Power while we were eating our a la carte sushi in bed. So that will always be my memory of our 4th anniversary, was doing that. Also in the morning was a really, really sweet moment when my husband woke up and he said that he had to run to the store for something. I said, go ahead, because he had been doing that a lot during that week. And he came back with some flowers for our anniversary just to surprise me. And that was so sweet because we had agreed not to get each other anything. It was just too close to baby. We didn't really want to celebrate it with anything crazy. We just wanted to focus on having a baby. So for our anniversary, we kept it super, super mellow. And so him giving and bringing those flowers was so sweet, and he also made me breakfast in bed. So that was such a sweet start to the day, and sushi was just the perfect way to end it. So that was our very mellow, sweet wedding anniversary for our 4th year of marriage. So that's how the first 5 days of Henri's life and the first 5 days of postpartum went. A lot of bed rest, a lot of after pains. I had heard the guideline through the postpartum course that I had taken that you want to do 5 days in the bed, 5 days on the bed, as in having the bed made but still bed resting, and then 5 days near the bed. And I definitely feel as though that is fairly correct in terms of my own experience, that at the 2-week mark, you definitely feel way more active. And so that's kind of when the bed rest situation can go down. One thing that I was struggling with was just being patient with my healing, because I wanted things to be faster and to be moving at a faster pace. But I would just encourage you, if you are going through your own postpartum journey or you're coming up to it, to be patient with yourself, that your healing is going to be at your own pace. Don't let anyone tell you that your experience is going to be a certain way just because their experience was a certain way. Go into your postpartum season with an open mind, knowing that it's going to be however it is for you and your body, and just be adaptable and flexible to that. Because I wish I would have been a little bit more open-minded when it came to my own postpartum journey and just adapted a little bit more to how it was going to be, knowing that my body is unique and it's going to be different from anyone else's experience. So thank you so much for watching this video about the first 5 days of Henri's life and the first 5 days postpartum. I hope that it was helpful for you in some way. Please feel free to comment down below, maybe your own experience when it comes to your postpartum journey or anything that you feel compelled to share. If you like this video, please remember to give it a little thumbs up and to subscribe to my channel for other similar type content. Thank you again for watching, and I cannot wait to catch you on the next video.